Emerging from a brutal COVID lockdown, Maria Ressa stepped into her own very public dystopian nightmare this morning. Her cyber libel charge just one of a plethora of accusations she's facing, from tax evasion and fraud to being on the CIA payroll.
Good.
An article on her news website, Rappler, 8 years ago, had linked a Philippine businessman to the drugs world. Today, a judge ruled that libel. Amnesty International ruled that a sham. Human Rights Watch called it a devastating blow to press freedom.
We're at the precipice. If we fall over, we're no longer a democracy. And in many ways, that could be easier for all of us. Let's not play the game. Are we a democracy or not? Let us do our jobs.
Maria Ressa, correspondent turned editor, twice arrested, 8 times bailed, now faces up to 6 years in jail. You don't want to make an enemy of President Rodrigo Duterte, the Philippines' thin-skinned strongman. He calls journalists sons of whores. You're not exempt from assassination, he's warned. Granted special emergency powers during the pandemic, Duterte issued shoot-to-kill orders for curfew violators.
Shoot them dead.
While you weren't looking, Duterte's worked to tighten his grip on power with a new catch-all anti-terror law.
Headline Filipinas.
And last month, he forced the giant broadcasting network ABS-CBN off air.
Maria Ressa, hinatulang guilty sa kasong...
It's just reporting online now. Like Maria Ressa's Rappler, ABS-CBN had closely documented Duterte's violent drug war and what his critics see as the systematic destruction of the foundation stones of Asia's oldest democracy. Duterte has jailed his critics and muzzled the press, but Maria Ressa says she won't be silenced. His spokesman reassured Filipinos that their populist president firmly believes in freedom of speech. Sometimes it's obvious, though, when Duterte's just joking.
Earlier I spoke to Maria Ressa, who is on bail in Manila after her conviction. I began by asking her if her legal team, led by human rights barrister Amal Clooney, will still believe that they can keep her out of jail.
It's hard to say, John. I guess I don't have any other option but to do what I'm doing, because giving up and losing hope means that we will give up our rights. The stakes are too high.
Is there any chance you can win? Isn't President Duterte determined simply to get you one way or another, however strange the legal paths to doing so may be?
I think Filipinos are waking up. I think the tactics of fear and violence take a toll, especially during the time of COVID-19. So I think there are 3 things that are waking Filipinos up. The lockdown that was extremely militaristic in execution. We had a brutal lockdown where the president actually ordered the troops to shoot them dead, if you violated quarantine. And then the second is the largest television network, the largest news group in the Philippines, was shut down about a month ago. And finally, just last week, an anti-terror bill was passed by the House of Representatives in 5 days that codifies these kinds of ad hoc, death by 1,000-cut moves against our freedoms. Fear works wonders because you think that if you stay quiet, that you won't be targeted. But it goes back to that old quote. First, they came for the journalists, and no one knew what happened next. I think Filipinos are waking up and realizing that if they don't stand up, that we will lose our rights.
Maria, finally, what is the personal cost to you?
I've had to, I was asked to give Princeton University's commencement speech to the class of 2020. And one of the advice I gave them is something I took myself because I was trying to figure out how to deal with this verdict. That is embrace your fear. Embrace your fear. With 8 criminal charges in the last year, going to jail became a reality. And my lawyers have told me that the maximum jail terms of all these 8 cases is almost a century, 100 years. So it had to. I've embraced it. I touched it, and it took me about a month to take the sting out, but I've imagined it. And if this is what it takes, then I guess this is what it takes. I think this is an important time for us to stand up to the mission of journalism. Our societies, our democracies require what we do even more today than ever, and we need to do it.